Hi, I'm Dom from the Semper Group, and today I'm going to be showing you the Arkite HIM operator guidance system and its capabilities in guiding an operator through a simple task. So, to start with, I'm going to follow whatever the instruction says on the bed, and it projects down the instructions in front of me and highlights what to do. So it says grab main chassis and highlights this box. Simply, I just grab like that. Okay, so place as so shown in the picture. Oh, I had it right the first time. So grab the seat, maybe grab like that. Place here until click. Grab the wing. And you can see that every time there's an instruction, there's also highlighting where the instruction takes place, giving nice text instructions and a little image to show what to do. So press and position as shown has a little image of where to press it in. Now the engine compartment, and you can see that here, instead of simply a picture, we've got a little GIF playing, and that shows in more detail how to do the action properly. So you don't place it the wrong way round, for example, or in the wrong orientation. So back in first and then down. Okay, and now it's asking me to flip the assembly upside down. It remembers that I've done that, but I also need to confirm as the operator, because visually I've got a bit more knowledge than the system. I can say, right, I'm confirming that I've done that as shown. So grab the front bumper. Okay, and press it down as shown here. So it goes in like that. Okay, and now I'm grabbing 3 screws. Insert the screws in the position shown. So it's got little arrows. So the first one goes here. The second one goes in the middle. I can follow very clearly and concisely the instructions shown. So press the confirm button. So now it's highlighted the drill, take the drill, and then tighten the screws. And obviously it's the screws I just put in. And then place the drill back. So grab 2 off front wheels, place the wheels as shown. Excellent, so they go on there. Grab 2 screws, and then I'm going to just place them in. Take the drill and tighten the screws. So it gives the operator some agency to do things in a way that suits them, but also it's storing the actions that happen as they happen in real time and sending them to a database. So I've grabbed these wheels here. Okay, it's just not touching my hand. Place the wheels at the rear of the car. I think they're in. And then it's telling me to grab 2 more screws. Okay, I'm just going to place them in there. Take the drill and tighten the screws and press confirm. So you can see it's storing all the data as I go along. I've finished putting the car together and I've put the drill there, and you can see I've completed the car. So it's that simple really. I followed all the instructions. I didn't have to know what was next or previous. I don't have to remember what's going on. And as an unskilled operator, I can come up to this workstation and complete the task without having to be trained prior to the operation. So there we go, press tick, and it's all done. So it's telling me to grab the seat, but because I'm making a mistake here, I accidentally reached for the engine compartment, and it's highlighted it red. So as well as telling me the right place to go, and it's still highlighting that, it's actually, as soon as I start making a mistake, it will give me direct feedback and tell me that I'm doing something wrong and maybe reconsider my actions. So you can see that as soon as I go for the wrong part here, it's telling me off, it's saying no, and we've got a lot of visual feedback for the operator there. And that's a good way to keep the operator on track, stop things going wrong in a production environment. So now I'm going to talk to you about the system, the hardware and the way it's set up above a desk. So this is above a desk in this situation. I've got a projector projecting down a nice clear instruction area, and the HIM unit using its detection zones in this whole area here, seeing the whole area in 3D space. But this is all customizable within any environment that you choose. So we can lift the Arkite unit up. It can have a range of up to 8 meters, or the projector could be not just one projector, but 2 or 3 projectors, and they can project in different angles in more complex assembly environments. So where an operator might be moving between multiple areas, you can get multiple HIM units as well. You can then create a much more complicated and detailed program that can guide an operator through many, many steps of a production environment. So actually we've got a video here of the HIM unit and projector set up in a car manufacturing environment. Hope that's useful for you. And obviously you can have it above a desk, you could have it above a shop floor. It's very good at detecting where operators are and keeping space very clear. And on Kanban systems where you've got lots and lots of components, it can detect all of those components and create very detailed assemblies. So we've seen the hardware of the system, but the real performance of the system is in the software, and that's where it shines the most. So you can see on the screen here I've got the programming environment, and we can have a look at that in a bit more detail. So here on the screen, and you can see my hand waving around, is the depth sensor, and this is one way that we can create like a 3D manipulation of the environment to tell the machine what's going on. So when I move my hand through a barrier, I can put like an imaginary barrier in 3D space in front of my hand there. Alternatively, I could use an infrared option, and that uses different infrared detections of different materials. So if something's plastic, it'll have a very different profile to something that's metal, for example. Or this keyboard, because it's black, has a much lower infrared than the desk, which is grey. Now if I go back to the depth sensor, you can see that I've set up a bunch of detections and windows here. They're very easy to get your head round. With just a few hours of programming practice, someone could start making detections and stringing a program together. And you can see that I've got everything that we're involved in the program, detections there, saying whether it's there or not, and this blue little circle tells me whether it's there or not. So that's how the detections work. The detections work in infrared and depth, and you can set them up as 3D objects. So let's show that. So I've got the wheels here. If I go into fine tune, I can go edit and then go into like a 3D view. So you can see my hand moving into that, and that's the area. So you can see where I've put that barrier in 3D space. There's my hand in 3D space, and we're just breaking that barrier, we're filling it in. And when it fills in, you can see a little circle on the screen up where the mouse is here saying, okay, it's triggered and the action has happened. And now the sensor can say, okay, now we've triggered that action, we can store that in a log and start to turn all these manual parts of a process into a string of variables that we can read in a database and we can store and we can trace and we can log. And this is a way that we can turn a human interaction with parts on a bench or with tools, manual hand tools or electric hand tools, or anything that they want, moving things around for example, into traceable and actions that we can repeat and add to KPIs and add to environment of our factory so that we know what's going on and when. And this can all be set up to export that data in real time so that we can see things happening, we know what operator's doing what at what time, we know what's going wrong, we know if there are components being used in the wrong or correct way. And so that's really where the brains of the system are located in the software there. And the way that this works is it can network with or interact with all kinds of different systems in the factory. PLCs, for example, a PLM. We can start to communicate with other softwares as well. So there's a whole lot of customization we can do there and a whole lot more that we have opportunity to use than just these detection zones and stringing things into a little sequence, when actually we can start to use more complex programs. So action-based programs and events that could branch maybe at correct places for different variants of a product. So the other half of it is we're actually projecting back down in a visualization field for the projectors here what the operator should see at any given time. If I light up any of these, then a light turns on the workbench in front of me. We can really tailor the shapes of these lights to arrows or pictures or GIFs. That's part of giving the operator as much help as we can and making it as intuitive as possible so that an operator doesn't feel like the machine is just there to log their time and take some of the process and take any control away from the operator. Really, it's giving the operator a chance to just do what they need to do without having to worry about it, and takes a lot of the stress of the situation away from them. So those are the main reasons that we would describe this as a software system. The hardware is important, yes, but the software itself really sets it apart from the rest of the competition and sets us at a precedent where we can integrate this into a factory and suddenly your operator and their hours and every process they achieve will become part of your data collection. And rather than sort of throwing a process over to an operator and then catching it once you kind of know it's done and then double checking, it's double checking all the way through. The operator's double checking, and you've got all of this checking procedure going on throughout the process, reducing errors and also catching errors much earlier. And so that's another way that the software is very helpful. Okay, so we've had a bit about the hardware and the software, but a few extra points to make are some of the ways that we can use the whole unit and the software to integrate into your factory. So some of the options are we can integrate with PLCs, as I mentioned, but we can also integrate with smart tools. So at certain points in a process, we could disable or enable smart tools and check the torque that they're using. So we get a better control of what's happening in a process and the correct tools being put in the correct place, for example, so you can detect the tools in the right place before you enable it. So another one is we can integrate on a network level with an API to control exactly what data is going where in a database like SQLite or SQL, and that's another way we can use the software. So Another thing to talk about is that there are lots of operators on lots of processes, and some of our operators might not be so familiar with certain variants or might not have as much training as others. And if someone comes in with no training, you're going to want a much more in-depth program than for someone who has a lot of training and knows their way around that variant. And in that way, the Arkite can save multiple different programs for the same variant, giving lots of different opportunities for reduction in training and giving more hand-holding feel to some of the programs while kind of a hands-off approach for others, really tailoring it for each operator and their skill levels. And also we can set up a training program in the first instance so that someone can say, okay, well, they've completed the training program, now they are allowed to do the basic variant. And that gives us a bit more understanding, and without having to get someone else involved, we can get someone trained and ready to go in a production environment without taking time of other operators. Another aspect of the HIM unit that we can cover is that it actually controls some aspects of your 5S system, so where components are, where tools are stored, and keeps everything in the right place so that your 5S system is much easier to maintain. You can see on the bench here, I've got my drill. If I pick that up and leave it in the wrong place, it's going to keep flashing, keep giving the operator a visual cue to put that drill back in its outline there. And obviously, in a real production environment, that drill would have maybe a foam cutout we can light up to say whether it's in the right place. You can really integrate this with a lot of lean equipment as well. And you can see how we've organized all of our trays so that all of the components are in the right place as well. We can tell the operator to put components back into those trays as well. So if they take them out of the assembly, they can then be told to place them into their respective compartments. And this can help reduce a lot of scrap. If you know that there's contamination or things being put in the wrong places, they might get scrapped, they might get thrown out, or have to go back for sorting. That's an extra operation we don't want to see, when actually putting things back in the right place in the first instance is the best line of defense against scrapping and wasting parts or assemblies. So, I hope that's been very informative to you. Obviously, we've got a lot more functionality in the system specific to you and your needs. I hope this has sparked some sort of ideas about what we can do for you using the HIM system. Thanks.